All right, welcome back to the garage. This is Tush coming at you with
Hi.
Lynn of Rusty Beauties fame. We are back on the 1958 Triumph TR3A project, and specifically the continuation of the Bastuck rack and pinion conversion kit installation. And today we're going to be looking at wiring of this slip ring. So Lynn's got the iPad with the instructions here, and we're just going through it. I think there's like 30 points on the instructions and a bunch of pictures. So I'll let him go through that. But this slip ring fits up in this general area here. I think it goes this direction. So it fits right about there. So it's going to be interesting conversion to say the least. Hopefully that clamp doesn't get in the way. But anyway, we'll figure it out as we go along, and we'll take some video along the way. All right, I think Lynn has a plan. We shortened the existing cable off the control head, and we're just stripping a little piece of the wire to do some of the wiring connections from this contraption over here eventually to the main harness. So we're keeping the original, so we just shortened it that much so far. And we're keeping the original wiring basically because we want the colors to be able to trace them. So that'll go into the main harness.
That's going to be this piece from the main harness to the head.
To the slip ring arrangement?
Yeah, that's going to be here.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right, we'll try to follow along as closely as possible. We're using the iPad here for directions. So we're at number 2, which is tinning the brass rings that fit inside this plastic piece here. You can see the rings there. So you remove the rings, and then you end up soldering wiring to the rings after you tin them. So he's just doing that now. So that's picture number 2 that we're working on. So there are pictures and there are steps. So I'm just going to follow that along as closely as possible. So point number 3, solder on the wires from the inside and deburr the solder joints from the outside. So once you put the wires on these rings, you need to make sure you file them so they're flat. So he's just doing that with a small file. So, all right, just a quick video update. So here's what you do basically after you've soldered that wire to the rings, then you slide the rings back on and you keep the wire in this channel. So you just continually keep, soldering wires to the rings and keep moving the rings up and putting obviously the next wire in the next channel up through. So it's a bit of a process. Lynn's complaining why they didn't do this from the factory.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is what it is.
Like IKEA.
All right, a quick video of the rings, the contact rings now installed with the wiring. So I'm not sure if we pointed this out, but this wiring is the same as what's coming out of the control head. So the 4 wires, I'm not sure what, as far as color is concerned, one will be for a horn.
One is for horn, power for signal or ground, I don't know,
yeah.
But that's left, that's right.
Okay.
That's the common, that's left, that's right.
Okay. So that's what that looks like. And we'll move on to the next step. Mm-hmm. All right, we've run into a bit of an issue. So this collar needs to slip onto this column. And the only problem is it is not going easily, or not going at all. So we're thinking possibly that the paint or the powder coating might be not helping. So I think we're going to sand this down a little bit, see if that would help that to slide on there. So we'll sand it back about this far, basically. We're a little concerned about the rubber bushing here that this has to go over, but this does collapse a little bit, so it'll probably go over it. But that's our first issue that we're encountering. So I think we'll sand this tube a little bit. All right, we just done a test fit up with the U-joint that matches up the front column with the main steering column here at the rear. And we're just looking at spacing. You can see where we sanded that column in order for the slip ring to fit over. So that's going to go in this location here. We did flip the clamp around because we needed the space. The other clamp, the way it was fitting, would have come out here. And obviously we needed space to fit the slip ring on the actual tube here. So we've just flipped the clamp around to the back side Again, we fitted the universal here, and we have room to move forward or backwards as necessary in both joints, actually in the front joint and the rear joint. We took a look at where the steering wheel is located, and I think we're going to be good there. So that looks pretty good. Looks about where it was when we took it off. I actually took some reference photos, so that's looking good. So I think we'll take it apart again. And obviously now we need to fit that slip ring where we've sanded on the column. That's where the slip ring is going to go, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, one other issue we were running into now, we're figuring out the steering wheel nut actually didn't fit on the new shaft because the threads were slightly different. So we took out the old shaft and the nut still works. We thought it might be cross-threaded, but actually not. It's just the threads on the new shaft are not cut.
Yeah, not that they're different. They were not deep enough because they were single point threads, which means they made them on a lathe, not with a die. Yeah. And they didn't go deep enough, so initially it didn't go easy at all. So we had to use a big ass socket.
Big ass socket is a correct term. 1 5/16" socket on that nut. All right. All right, we're just greasing up the slip ring with some synthetic grease. So according to the step in the manual, it's got a little end cap spacer that goes on, and then the actual housing itself goes on top of that. Like so. Okay.
And then it gets locked to the shaft.
Yeah, set screws, the hex key gets locked to the shaft, and then we'll come back for the next step. All right, the next new issue is that this little piece of tubing that normally would have fit in the stator tube or against the stator tube through the column is not fitting here in the steering shaft. So this needs to go in here, obviously with the cable fed through, and it's not happening. So I've either got to cut it or grind it. So we're going to go the grinding route first and thin it down a little bit, see if we can get that to fit before I decide to cut it. Okay, so this is... All right, we're able to get the wheel back on by grinding that tube down a little bit to make it a little thinner. So that's fitting well now. I don't have the grub screws in yet, but that's on, which is good. So on to the next thing. All right, we resolve one issue and then we run into another issue. So right now, the bottom universal joint, then the bolt is too long and it's actually fouling against the frame here. Very close. Yeah, I think if I just trim this bolt down, we should be fine. I don't think the nut's going to interfere. So we'll pull that and trim that bolt down. All right, so Lynn's got the wires running through the steering column out through the U-joint, as you can see. Now he's got it sort of wrapped around and tied here with a zip tie. So these are the 4 wires from the control head, basically. Now they're going to get tucked under each one of these grub screws or these brass plugs here, which has a plunger that actually runs along the slip ring. So we'll do that. We'll come back. We'll take another little bit of video.
Here, this is the...
Yeah, see the little plunger? So that basically rides in those holes there. And
the plunger,
well, it did until he lost it. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. All right, we have another issue. We're just going through the testing of the wiring, and it looks like we have an issue with the control head. I had mentioned to Alex when I received the car that I couldn't get the right turn signal to work. And that seems to be rearing its head now that we're doing the wiring with the slip ring, and we're not getting power from the switch. So we're thinking the control head might be bad, or the wiring in the control head.
Power goes, so we connect it here, and power goes through the slip ring to the control head, and when we turn the left signal on, it works.
Yep.
So that is coming back through the green with red and going and powering up the circuit. But when we go to right, now power is going through the slip ring to the control head, signal is on right, so it should come back to this green with white wire, but we don't have power on it now. Oh, now actually
Now we have power.
So it is the switch maybe was corroded a little bit.
Okay.
Let's keep trying. Yeah. So maybe there was a little bit of corrosion in the switch.
All right, so we have power back now. Good. So all I needed to do was turn the video camera on to prove you that it wasn't working. And now it works. So thank you, everybody. All right, we're just tidying up wiring. We've got a nice sheath on the wires coming through the slip ring at the top, and we've got them tucked in to where they need to be. So that's looking good. I think we're going to spray paint this area black. That's suggested that we do that at some point here. The actual slip ring itself, and obviously where we sanded off on the column. So that'll make that look a little bit more invisible. He's going to hit the... if he hits the horn now, you can hear the relay click over here. Now you can't. Now you can. So you can hear the horn there. So that relay is working. So obviously when we get power to the horns that are inside the front apron, that's going to sound. So yeah, they're looking pretty good. All right. Okay, I think somewhere in the instructions it tells you to fix the control head so it doesn't spin around the steering wheel. So you could probably put a piece of weld or something here to keep it from spinning, but we just stuck a screw in here, and I think that's going to work. That's pretty solid, so I think we're good to go to reinstall that now, and that's locked it. So we now can put that on the wheel, put the grub screws in, and it should just basically not spin around and around with the wheel.
Because that's what mounts to the steering wheel.
Yeah.
But then this spins freely.
Yeah.
Now that they are locked together.
Yeah.
They won't spin.
Okay. All right, just after 7 p.m. and just back out in the garage to shut it down for the night. And had a good day out here doing the wiring for the slip ring arrangement. And there you can see it completed. So it's a pretty nice clean install with the wiring coming out of the inner piece of the slip ring and down to where it attaches into the main harness here. We'll clean this wiring up a little bit. We're not completely finished yet anyway, because we're in the process of wiring up an electric fan, and we still have the headlights to hooked up and the running lights for the front. But there you can see, you know, the U-joint arrangement with the cable coming out the front and then going back into the slip ring here under these contact points. These are the plungers that we talked about earlier. So that looks good. So there were a few challenges to overcome. One, having to sand the shaft down, obviously to fit that inner ring on was one thing. Having that little bit longer bolt here in that front universal joint, which was fouling on the frame, was another thing we had to fix. Fixing the control head was another thing we knew had to happen. We just weren't quite sure how we wanted to do that. And the steering nut, again, was another issue with the threads being wrong on the new upper column. We couldn't get the stock nut to work. We finally did. We cut some new threads. So there was a few issues to overcome. Oh, the tube from the existing control head was too wide to fit into the column from Bastuck, so we had to shave that down a little bit. So anyway, we made our way through those things and got it up and running successfully. Again, we've tested all the wiring out and everything is working as it should. So the next thing for us to do is to install the front apron and rewire up the front signals, headlights, and of course the air horns that are in the front of this apron, or valence, whatever you want to call it. So we've got the air horns here that need to be hooked up, and that obviously would be controlled with the stock horn button. And obviously the stock trafficators work left and right here at the front, so that's all good. So we'll put an end to the wiring piece for the Bastuk conversion, and we'll move on to the rest of the projects on this car, which will be in a separate video. See you then. Thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, thanks for subscribing.